Okay, we're going to call the meeting of the Hopkinton Town Council of February 19th, 2013 to order with a moment of silent meditation and salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First item on the agenda is we need a motion to sit as a licensing board.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. First up is commercial hauler's license. Open a hearing on an application for commercial hauler's license filed by Thomas Curtin for TJ Sanitation, 235 Westerly, Bradford Road, Westerly, Rhode Island. These have all the applications been received and filing fees paid?
Yes.
Okay. I guess, is there a motion?
Motion to accept the application for the commercial hauler's license for Thomas Curtin T&J Sanitation if the fees have been paid and notice posted.
Is there a second?
Second.
And discussion? Questions, council? Scott?
He's new. Welcome.
Thank you.
I hope you'll enjoy working in Hopkinton and Ashaway and Bradford and Hope Valley and all those other places that we have.
I'm sure I will.
Anyone else? David, do you have any
All set.
questions? Scott, Sylvia?
Didn't you work here before in the town over the years, sometime in the past? This particular TJ Sanitation? No? Oh, I thought, it was a name I thought I remembered from before. Okay.
Scott, do you have anything?
No. It's, usually licenses are automatic unless there's really a problem.
He's brand new.
Can't be a problem.
Yeah.
So you've never done any work in the town at all?
No, not until now, no.
A lot of competition, but welcome.
Yeah, I don't have any real questions, I guess, other than, I guess, on a yearly basis, I believe you don't have to show up for these, right, Lisa? Just, it's
Just
pretty much
first time.
just the first time here. All right, is there anyone out in the public that wishes to speak on behalf of this license? Okay. Any other further council discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Curtin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move that we adjourn as a licensing board and reconvene as a council.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next up on the agenda is consent agenda approval. Do you have anything to pull?
No, I haven't.
I just see minor errors that,
Okay. I have February 4th to pull. Okay.
why don't we pull February 22nd? I think that had a minor error. And I apologize because I just read them today.
Scott, what's the date?
22nd.
22nd.
Yeah.
I make a motion to approve the executive session meeting minutes of January 22nd, 2013, executive session meeting minutes of January 14th, 2013, and to accept the report of the town clerk.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, February 4th. Page 7 at the top of February 4th minutes meeting minutes. Lisa, was that supposed to be John Anderson and not Earl?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
You picked that up because I picked that up myself, because John Earl's been dead a few years.
Well, I didn't know that fact.
Flashback, Lisa.
My goodness,
I didn't know who it was. I
He
said,
was a
oh.
fabulous guy.
he was.
So that was all I had for that.
He was a gentleman.
Truly was.
Scott, did you have a question on January 22nd?
I don't believe so. I saw one, and we all make mistakes, including me. But I guess it wasn't on the 22nd, it wasn't on that one. It would have been, we're on the 22nd?
Oh, I thought you had a question. You wanted us to pull the 22nd meeting minutes.
Yeah.
What page?
Page 16 is Nadine DePaulo with an A at the end, not an O. It's a small point, but her last name is with an A. And
16.
DePaulo, it's supposed to be DePaula?
yeah,
Okay. All right. Well,
and there's one other thing was, breach is like, would be like, I guess you can't. Breach is B-E-A-C-H. And all I know is I know I'm being picky and I'm being a pain, and I apologize because I make errors.
Which page, Scott?
I'm trying to look for it because I circled it. I don't know if it's this, yeah, it's page 6 on the bottom.
On which,
Last sentence,
January 22nd, Max?
Yes. Breach of contract would be A-C-H, not E-C-H.
Okay.
I know I'm being picky, but I just,
Oh, okay.
That's history there.
That's right.
Someday, some person like Laura is going to look back into the record 200 years and say, whoops.
My goodness, they
And now they'll
spelled
say,
something wrong.
ooh.
All right,
So
at least it
motion-
makes all of us look good.
Motion to approve town council meeting minutes of February 4th, 2013, town council meeting minutes of January 22nd, 2013 as amended.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. First public forum. Anyone out in the audience wishing to speak? Dorothy Gardner, come to the podium.
Good evening, Dorothy Gardner, Cananchit Driftway. As you know, you supported me to join the audit subcommittee at Chariho, and indeed, I'm very glad that I did retain my membership in that audit subcommittee because there were issues that would not have been known by someone else coming in. I alone of the committee voted not to approve the audit. And my reasons were because the investigative audit that was done at Chariho, which I did not read because I declined to sign a form, which meant that I could never discuss it, was not revealed to the auditor. And by that I mean there was no letter from the attorney stating that there had been no fraud, and there was no notation from the attorney that the amounts in that audit were correct. Also, there is a possibility, and this is just a possibility, is currently in court, that the taxpayers of all three towns will be responsible for almost $2 million in repairs for the CTC building. However, Chariho is, as I said, in litigation right now with the state of Rhode Island. That was not noted. There were some other discrepancies. One particular item remained in the budget, although the school committee, before my tenure on the school committee, had voted to remove the amount of money for a management study. So for those reasons, I declined to approve the audit, even though at the second meeting, the discrepancies other than the investigative audit had been corrected and were duly noted. I ended up finding out that at the last school committee meeting, there was an issue with what I consider commingling of funds. Apparently, the building committee has run out of funds, and the school committee simply took $15 million out of their budget.
15,000.
15,000, I'm sorry, 15,000 out of their budget for the building budget, which I'm a little perturbed about because it was never brought before the school committee before it was ever approved, and I don't even know if you're supposed to do that. So again, I'm somewhat distressed. Then during the school committee meeting, Bob Cardoza suggested that outsiders were on the audit committee. Now, I would assume outsiders includes me and Mr. Mott, and I stand before you to tell you I'm not an outsider. I've lived in this town for more than 50 years, and I do not consider myself an outsider. I consider myself a taxpayer. If we don't watch the money that's being used, we don't watch the money that's being budgeted, and we don't watch the money which is overcharged to us and is currently being paid back in a sum of almost $10,000 a month by one vendor, you can bring up all the unusual funding sources that you wish to bring up, but if we don't watch what we have, we're simply going to have to pay higher and higher taxes for what I consider to be, at times, mismanagement. And I do hope that you will support the continuation of the audit committee, because I certainly intend to be there at their next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy.
I'd like to respond and just say that, obviously, unless something's on the agenda, we can't respond, but
I realize that.
But I want to say, and I can say this, I want to thank you for being the person you are, because a lot of people, number one, you're smart and you got guts, and I think that's very important. The thing is that we need people who are thoughtful, but at the same time can take a stand. And I'm a little disappointed if in fact Mr. Cardozo's remark was that he would make such a statement, because you have to engage the community, whether it's the town or the Chariho School District, and that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to get in trouble with the solicitor. But I do thank you for what you represent at Chariho. Thank you very much.
And I would like to make one more comment, which I had almost forgotten. One of the reasons that I'm here also is that on the next agenda, Amanda Blau asked, after Bob Cardozo spoke about the audit committee, that during the next school committee meeting, they discuss a possible reorganization of the subcommittees, which I'm very concerned that maybe the audit committee will go away. And if the audit committee goes away because I, as a person, said, no, this is not right, it's wrong for them to do that. It's very wrong.
Okay, thanks, Dorothy.
Thank you.
And I just have one comment, because I was at that school board meeting. I think when Mr. Cardozo spoke of outsiders, he just meant not school board members, so that they had people from the community into the audit committee. I think he meant it in good terms, not bad.
I don't know.
I was there, and I really think that he didn't mean it as outsiders, but just not of school board. So they had members of the community in the audit committee, which he thought was a good thing, I think, not a bad thing. That was my impression from that meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dorothy. Next on the agenda is Council President Report. I had added this item, invitation to the Hopkinton members of the Chariho School Committee to attend a meeting of the council, just to kind of learn, now that the budget process with Chariho is pretty much complete, not voted on yet, but just for us to learn and see, is there anything we could have done as a council? More of a learning process for me and anyone else that might want to get more insight on the Chariho budget process, because I don't know that, maybe we should have, as a group, attended more budget meetings. I'm not sure what the answer is. I know what the result is, and we all know what that is, and typically every year it happens. But it's more, like I said, it's more going to be a learning session. I'm going to invite our 4 members, and hopefully they can all come and share some insight as to how the process went, and things we could have done better or not done at all, or just to really gain some insight on
I'd
that
like to
process.
comment.
So,
A few years ago, or several years ago, I had done the same thing. I had requested the 4 members of the school committee from Hopkinton. I think, number one, I would check with the solicitor to see if we have to list the topics we're going to talk with them to fulfill the open meetings law, which I don't want a problem with that. And I do think that it's important that the way the school committee is structured, that every town has representation. You don't represent the whole district, you represent a specific town. That's both a political and legal reality. Not that you don't have an interest in the whole district, but that's what the facts are. I do look forward to it. I just hope that, I think in the past, other members from other towns have come, but basically, it's important for Hopkinton officials who are elected by the same people, school committee people, and we're elected by the same people, get together and talk about how it impacts Hopkinton and the issues generally. But it's important in the way the open meetings law works, that not more than 2 members of the town council can talk about school issues without the open meetings law. So I think that's very important to point out. So I look forward to the dialogue. Thank you.
thank you, Sylvia.
I agree that when we invite them over, we need to, ahead of time, let them know specifically in the letter what it is we'd like to talk about. The items I'd like to talk about do revolve around finances. I'd like to have an update of the Campus 2010 project as it relates to the finances. I'd like to know if this occurs, the impact of the sequestration on the 2010 debt, because I understand if that happens, it's going to affect the terms of the bond, the interest rate. And I understand that could be quite a lot of money. I'd also like to talk to them about having or commissioning, and maybe the three towns would be interested in this, a detailed audit of the finances at Chariho. They have an audit every year, but it's kind of a very loose audit. Well, they have an audit, but it's just kind of, it's a surface thing, sort of thing, I think. What I'd like to see is a more detailed audit of the finances and also a management study that's been brought up again and again, year by year. Specifically, those two items, because if we get a better handle on management, for them specifically, what are they doing? What are they doing right? Could they change some things to just basically just better, more to promote more efficient use of the spending? Maybe they could come up with some recommendations that would end up costing us less. And the other thing is, I keep hearing about the VOTEC, or I guess they call it, what do they call it? CTC, what does that stand for?
Korean Technical Center.
Oh, Korean Technical Center, thank you. I'd like to know if they have I keep hearing that it's going to cost that they've already accepted the building or something, but that then they found out later it's going to cost a couple of million. So what I'd like to do is talk to the school committee members and find out, do they have an estimate? Is that what maybe Castle Boo came up with the 2 million figure? So the issue is, what's their plan? Is that going to be something that our taxpayers have to pay for, or do they have, is that something the state's going to handle? So maybe they would let us know about that one too. So those were my items.
Yeah, I think they all seem to be budget related for the most part, but, yeah, again, it's just more a learning process. I just want to segue one thing.
I have.
1 second, Scott, please. It's just like I said, more of a learning process, and then ultimately, once we get the invitations out and we know if they're coming or not, then we'll have to frame up, obviously. I don't want 10 items on the list. I want to frame them all up and not make it, last 2 hours. But anyway, Barbara.
I'm also interested, I'm interested in two other things. I'm interested in learning more about the charter school request from Barry Ritchie on having the school support, the town support the charter school issue, or non-issue. I also am interested in having someone from the school board give us some of the one-to-one technical iPad program, what's happening with that and how that affects the towns. The new computer program.
Yeah, Frank, I've got a couple of questions I'd like to ask them. One is, I'd like to know the total cost of this computer program that they want to institute with having a computer for every student. I'd like to know the cost not only for the computers themselves, but I'd like to know the associated costs, such as somebody to fix them, somebody to replace them if they get lost. So that's one thing. I'd like to see the total bill for that program. Two is I'd like to know, because I've looked at the budget, the school budget, at least the latest copy I have. I'd like to know why the revenues section is not broken down. It's simply a one-line, one-figure number. I want to know where that revenue is coming from. And it really bothers me that it's not in the budget that I can find. So those are two things I'd like to find out what's going on.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Dave.
Yes. I'd like to have on the agenda the Charter Act Revision Committee and have a discussion on that. I'm very concerned with the communication from the town of Richmond. I know it's not on the agenda, so I can't elaborate, but I want the Charter Act Revision Commission on the agenda, so I can talk freely about it. Thank you.
Yeah, so when we get the invitations out and I find out who is actually going to be attending the meeting, then we frame it all up. I guess it'd probably be best if each council person sends me an email with their items, and then I'll frame them up and get them on the agenda with the help of Pat and Lisa. So,
Question, because they have their own schedule, they have, there are things they do at certain times of the year, and what I'd like to see is offer to them an option of when they want to have this meeting.
yeah.
It doesn't, if they're very busy right now with their budget and the hearing and the vote, and if they want to do it in June, if it's an
Right.
easier time,
Yeah, that's
you know,
fine.
let them
Yeah,
know.
Yeah, I'm all about making it easy for everyone, so.
Okay.
I'd like to have it before June.
Well, we'll figure it out once everybody, gets on board, if they want to come or not, and then we'll figure out a date for Lisa.
And also, of course, some of the items you mentioned specifically, you can find out a little more about that at the hearing, some of these items.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's it, yes. Lisa, did you have a quick question, comment?
Would you like me to send an invitation out to the 4 members of our Hopkinton representatives on the Chariho School District with specific dates or with our calendar?
Well, I think our calendar's pretty easy. I guess I'd be more concerned about them, when they all can get together and.
So you're targeting potentially a regularly scheduled town council meeting?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, so however you think, Lisa, you want to frame it up, that's fine. But yeah, if you want to get those out, I guess, sooner rather than later, that'd be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, Dorothy? Yes, please. Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify one thing, and that is on the audit, I know that over the past years, people have felt that it's been just kind of like a surface audit. One of the school committee members once said in a meeting that the auditor only sees what you want them to see. And I found that, to a certain extent, alarmingly correct when I was on the audit subcommittee. Because if I hadn't been there, knowing what I knew from being on the school committee, the information about the CTC building, for instance, never would have seen the light of day. There never would have been a note added to the audit that there was a possibility that we might be on the hook for $1.8 million. So it's not entirely, the auditor's fault, so to speak, that some of these audits seem to be just surface audits. The money for a management study, still in the budget, still a line item. Now, unless someone told the auditor, or unless someone had removed this line item before the audit was done, there was no way that he would have known that this line item had been completely removed from the budget. It's still there, still enclosed within the budget. Now, I don't know what they would have done with the $80,000, if it continued on and the budget was passed as is. Well, then they'd just have $80,000 extra. Oh, we forgot to take this out of the budget. And that's what really, it really angers me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is the town manager's report. Bill McGarry.
Thank you. Well, just very briefly, on February 6th, the Finance Director, Laura Kenyon, and I attended a meeting at the Rhode Island Employee Retirement System offices in Warwick. Many elected and appointed officials were in attendance, and the Employees Retirement System Director, Frank Karpansky, chaired that presentation and basically gave us an overall status on the pension fund and its unfunded liabilities. And lastly, I worked along with state and local officials before, during, and after the historic blizzard of 2013 to coordinate the timely response of normal daily activities. We worked to publicize the shelter openings, those in Westerly and at Chariho Middle School, and provide timely information to town residents via code red calls and the town's information website. The Department of Public Works did an outstanding job, as always, of clearing the roadways, and our EMA Director, Ron McDonald, was in constant touch with state and local EMA officials on storm-related matters. I also spoke to the Finance Director and the head of the Police Department and DPW, and we put together and documented all storm-related expenses because there was a state declaration and a local declaration of emergency. And this afternoon, we met with 4 FEMA officials along with an official from the Rhode Island Environmental Management. along with, from the Rhode Island EMA, with Laura Kenyon, myself, Tim Teft, and Ron McDonald. And basically, we were able to identify approximately $75,000 in storm-related expenses. So should the federal government declare a disaster declaration similar to the state and the local town of Hopkinton, then we would be able to resubmit that at a 75% rate for reimbursement. So whether or not we get that really depends on whether or not it's authorized from the federal government. But we're ahead of the curve, and hopefully that'll pass and we'll get that reimbursement.
Any questions for Bill, folks? Barbara?
I have a question on the Rhode Island employee retirement system. They were discussing unfunded liabilities. Did they give any specifics, like per Hopkinton, what is our unfunded liability?
Yes.
So that we can address it and...
We're in really good shape.
I know we are.
One of ours is in excess of 80%, and the other one is at about 115% between, civilian employees and the police. So both of them are, very high. So
That's great.
Yeah, we're in great shape. The best part about it is we don't have any locally administered pension plans, and those are the ones that are really in trouble.
Right, and ours are, so we're at 80% funded and 115 plus funded.
Yeah, we're in good shape.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's very good.
Bill, anybody else have any questions?
all set.
Sylvia? No? Could you maybe explain what the likelihood is of that reimbursement with FEMA on the match for our expenses related to the storm, I guess? Does each town and city have to, how does that process work?
It's the feds, Frank.
Oh,
The
okay.
feds have to declare.
Okay.
Right, Bill?
I'm sorry.
It's the feds that have to declare it.
Yes.
So what, everything goes up to the federal government from all the towns and cities, and they evaluate it, or, I guess?
Basically, the way it works is, right now, we're at like a preliminary stage, rough numbers, and there are certain thresholds that the towns have to meet in order to qualify for that. And the state EMA has to get projections from the cities and towns of the affected counties as to whether or not these proposed expenses would qualify for federal reimbursement. It's got to meet a certain monetary threshold. And once that happens, then they give it the green light to send it up and say, this is what we're projecting. And then if the feds approve it, then we come back and do a more detailed documentation of those
Oh,
expenses.
I see. Do you know what the threshold is, I guess, for our town, or does it?
That's a federal mandate. I'm not sure what that is.
It's from the state, I think.
Okay. Yes. Any more?
I'm
Oh, okay,
all
thank
set,
you.
thank you.
I appreciate it. Okay, folks, next on the agenda is under new business is discuss and consider ratification of an existing police department mutual aid resolution. I guess I'll hand this over to Bill McGarry, the town manager. I guess it's something I think that's been around for a while, but it hasn't fully been ratified, I guess, for mutual jurisdictions, but I'll let you explain.
Sure, thank you. There are actually two parts to this. The first is a resolution, and the second part is a mutual aid agreement. And basically how this evolved was with the school security issue over at Chariho, when both Charleston and Hopkinton traveled into the town of Richmond, because that's where the school is located. We provided that extra security in order to ensure the safety of the teachers, the students, and the staff. It came to our attention that we did not have a mutual aid agreement with the town of Richmond. Way back in December of 2003, the town of Hopkinton passed a resolution enabling the Hopkinton Police Chief to enter into law enforcement agreements with the Rhode Island State Police and the towns of Westerly, Charleston, Richmond, Exeter, Narragansett, and South Kingstown. And pursuant to the adoption of that resolution, the town of Hopkinton did enter into two law enforcement agreements, one with Charleston and one with Westerly. But still, we didn't have one in Richmond. So this resolution is approximately 9 years old, a little bit older, and I spoke with the town solicitor, Patricia Buckley, and she recommended that it be brought back to the town council just to get a ratification of that because of its age. And I agreed to that. I thought that was a good idea. And this mutual aid agreement that would be signed by the two police chiefs is for non-emergency services, and is provided through enabling legislation by the state.
That's pretty much it. Did Chief Palmer want to expand on anything, or is it all set?
Evening.
Hello, Chief.
I'm in full agreement with the town manager, Bill McGarry, that we actually need this. I spoke to at length with Elwood Johnson, chief from Richmond. He's in full agreement. I called him today. He texted me back. He's in Vermont skiing. So they fully plan to ratify theirs at the Richmond Town Council on March 5th. So I think it's a go on both sides, and I think it's equally good for both departments.
Okay. Any questions for Chief Palmer, folks?
I think obviously I don't have a problem with it. It makes sense, and we codify it. The only thing is, it's conceivable, although not likely, I would assume, that it could get to extent that even this is including non-emergency the way it's written. So I think
Correct.
So I mean, in theory, although it's not likely to happen, it could be an abuse of it too. I suppose if they used it a lot, would have done a lot, and it wasn't reciprocated a lot.
Well, the whole design of it is basically if when, say, Hopkinton is in Richmond or vice versa, we observe something where there's probable cause to make an arrest, it allows you to make an arrest. It also allows you, if you see some egregious driving behavior, and I'm not just talking about the the average ticket, that people's lives are in danger, and also DMVs, disabled motor vehicles, so that we can assist the public when we're in Richmond, because we're there for some other reason. And now, in this case here, it's going down there helping out Chariho High School. I don't see abuse happening on it. I've spoken at length, as I said, with Elwood Johnson, and we're both on the mindset that this is for our officers going there and running into something. I've got no plans of having my officers go patrol Richmond. We've got 45 square miles. I don't know we need any more. So, and I think he has the same mindset as we do.
I am very glad that you'll be working with Captain Johnson. I think that's a really wonderful thing. I'm glad it's finally occurring. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
I know that the police cop is, particularly in Hope Valley, where you have a small part of Richmond, Hope Valley, Richmond, you have to go through Hopkins to get to it, up Mechanic Street, where you see the Richmond police car quite a bit going to that part of town. I don't have a problem with it.
There's some added benefits as well as, through the Chariho Task Force, they planned on party patrols and such, and I think both of us think it's prudent that we combine our forces, and because Chariho is regional, and somebody having a party in Hopkinton, they go from there to Richmond. It's a great tool for us to combine forces.
Sylvia, do you have anything?
Yeah, could you explain a little more for the record? There would be other instances, I don't know, investigations, et cetera, drug?
Absolutely. It's happened since I've been here. It happens routinely. We get an arrest warrant for somebody that's living in Richmond, and obviously we're not going to go there and arrest this person in Richmond. We call Richmond to go there, but most of the time we're going to go with them. And so we're going there, and we need the coverage, the backing of the trust and the town while they're in Richmond, because it is our case, and vice versa.
If you were in the middle of, let's see, some drug activities, let's say that there's some activities in town, but the individuals you need to look at live in another town, and you need to investigate those individuals, what would your procedures be?
Procedure would automatically is contact Richmond Police and include them in there. chance, and we've had that when we had the marijuana grow that originated here in Hopkinton. The probable cause led us to the grow in Richmond. And the first thing we do, before we were even leaving the scene of where we're making an arrest, is we're calling Richmond to make sure that they're aware and that they're on board. And many times we want to deconflict, because in this case, they had information as well. And we deconflict, but we also combine forces, because there's information that they have that is beneficial to both departments. There's a very good working relationship between Richmond and Hopkinton. I'm friendly with Elwood Johnson, but this stemmed long before I was here. There's a very good rapport between all our officers here in Richmond.
In Westerly.
And Westerly, all surrounding departments, but because we're talking about Richmond, I'm focusing on them.
Yes, Dave, do you have anything?
Yeah, I think it's a fine idea. And maybe I missed this. Can somebody tell me why this wasn't done before now?
Bill, yeah, it's been around a while, I just don't know why
I
it was
mean, if
ever...
we're doing it with Charleston and Westerly,
I'm not sure why, I remember it in a meeting, but and I'm not sure why, but I remember Richmond didn't want to participate, and it had something to do with Chariho, and I don't know why.
you know.
And I don't remember, and it was their business and they didn't want to, so that's all I remember.
They've changed their mind now.
Okay.
So we're good shape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
before they didn't want it was all I remember.
It could have been, there was a different chief years ago also. And I think, not that it's necessarily relevant, but you got to remember the town of Richmond is one of the last towns in Rhode Island to have a 24/7 police department. The town of Hopkinton and the town of Charleston had 24/7 police department, and they used to have, Richmond only had a part-time police department because they didn't patrol at night, so, and probably when this came out, that was the situation in Richmond. I'm pretty sure it probably was, I can't verify it. But there was a different chief, and I believe the chief before Chief Johnson, and I can't say this 100%, I believe had a different attitude than apparently the present chief in Richmond. But the people would have to do research on that.
Thank you, Scott.
Good.
I'm glad it's happening. I think it's nice to have mutual aid with our closest neighbor, Richmond. I think it's something we need. I just had one quick question. Do you think with this mutual aid agreement, once it's executed, it would allow us, and I'm not even sure if it was something that crossed your mind, to be able, if say their resource officer wasn't available in the school, would that allow us to take part in that process, Chief, or is that totally
I
different?
believe it opens the door there, and I'd have to do a little more research with the trust, but I believe it does open the door.
Okay, just curious, yeah, thanks.
Make a motion?
Yes,
Move that that we ratify the existing police department mutual aid resolution as previously adopted by the town council in December of 2003.
Second?
all those in favor?
Good discussion.
Aye.
Discussion?
We've already done it.
Yeah, you just voted on it.
We just
Yeah.
voted on it,
Aye.
it's really over.
Well, I was going to vote aye, but Mike, let me ask the solicitor a question. Is this for the town of Richmond only, but not in the other
No,
towns?
you're ratifying the agreement which allows the chief the authority to enter into mutual aid agreements as identified in that resolution, which is multiple towns.
Should-
What you're doing is ratifying the resolution. It's up to the chief to enter into the mutual aid agreement.
Are you including other towns other than Richmond, including
Yes.
South Kingston and Narragansett?
Well, and I think the law allows you to do adjacent,
It's got to be contiguous.
Yeah, it's got to be
It
continued.
has to be contiguous, I agree.
In that other
It
res,
doesn't matter, we're not going to enter into South Kingston and Narragansett, so don't worry about it. It's strictly, all you're doing tonight is ratifying this agreement. And when Bill brought it to my attention, I said, it's still a good agreement. The council duly, this is more or less a courtesy to make sure you guys understand exactly what's going on. So it's really a pro forma thing.
well, I'm in,
So, yeah.
well, just call a vote and I'll vote in
We
favor.
already
well-
did.
We did.
We
so-
did,
And
and
you
we
can let
voted.
Lisa know what your vote's going to be.
My vote is yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
But you said the 2003 agreement, we've been talking about doing it with Richmond, not the other towns. 'cause-
We could talk about whatever we want, but the motion was to adopt the resolution, and if you look at the resolution, it
other
states
towns.
as it's outlined in the law, the general law 4544-2, and it includes Westerly, Charlestown, Richmond, Exeter, Darien, and South Kingstown. That's the resolution.
But as the town manager said, it's going to be contiguous, so anyway. So, Lisa, do we all vote on? Okay, I lost my train of thought here. All right, thank you. Chief Palmer, I appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
No, I mean, on that point, you got to make sure it's clear what we know what we're voting on, because I wasn't sure.
Well, I think everyone did know what they were voting on.
If you need a clarification, it's okay to ask.
Yeah, right. Okay. Last public forum. Anyone out in the public wishing to speak? Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.